Hey, how you doing today? Welcome to my channel and to the class that I'm presenting for carpentry. I'm your carpentry instructor for today, Derek Seals. We have a lot to cover today, and we want to go over how to estimate your lumber for your first floor. So as you can see on this plan, that this is the first floor plan, and it will specify that on the blueprints. You will see north on the blueprints, the direction that you will be looking from the front will actually tell you that north is where you're facing. So from the place you're facing, that's going to be north of where you are. Okay, so we have one bedroom, we have two bedrooms, we have three bedrooms. Now this board is really cluttered, and I want to cram in as much as I could because you're going to be learning off of this board basically how I come up with estimating. And let me tell you something, better to have more than to have less. Because if you have to keep making runs to the store to get lumber, that's going to be costly on gas. Then people are going to actually think that you really don't know what you're doing because you miscalculated. Now, mind you, mistakes do happen. And mind you, things do kind of get whacked out depending on your framing crew. This will also help those that want to become a foreman, those that want to watch a job. You always have to remember when you're ordering your lumber material, you need a pen and a paper. You may need a couple pieces of paper because your list is going to be really chaotic, okay? Really chaotic. This is just what I have here. You may not be able to see it correctly because of the way the camera's facing, but you got to do some writing. So you're not going to get away from it. There are programs out there to help assist you in estimating. I don't knock any program that anybody sells to make a job go faster. But let me tell you something about that. Most blueprints from where I come from are papered. They have a paper plan, basically that's black and white, okay? One side printed. It's not printed on both sides. Very small writing, very small. So if you have to have readers, like I do, have them on the job site, okay? When you're ordering your materials, you must maintain a good list, starting from your bottom plate. Your bottom plate is going to be your treated plate. That's the plate that's going to sit on the foundation. That's the plate that's going to sit on the concrete. That's the bottom plate, okay? You're going to have your top plate. We went over this before. Then you're going to have a double top plate, okay, that sits on top of the top plate. This plate actually connects walls and nail walls together that are intersecting, and it locks the walls together so that they don't move. They're connected with the top, double top plate to the top plate, and also connected from the wall into a channel. We went over that before. So you must have your channels in place. All these writings that you see that I have, these numbers, oh yeah, I know. It's a lot. It's chaotic. Blueprints are not for just an individual that wants to just decipher and look at just one thing. You have to scan the blueprints. You have to flip pages back and forth. You have to study. Usually you'll get your plans 2 to 3 weeks before a job starts from the company you're working for. They give you time to, hey, mark up anything. You will not see your blueprints color-coded like this, but you can color-code your blueprints to specify certain parts of the job that you're transferring information from one page, like on the structural page. Structural pages are going to be letter S. So you're going to have alphabetical page letters telling you the pages you're on, especially for the mechanical drawings, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, okay, heating and air conditioning. Now, structural for the carpenter is the most important part of the job because the structural page is going to tell you your header size. I got a header size here. It's a 4x6. This is the front door. Well, why is it so big? Because the front door is only a 3-foot door opening. Yeah, it is. But you can also have side light panels on each side that can extend that to be over 6 feet. But as a regular standard 3-foot door, or we call 3068 door for the front, sometimes engineers want a bigger header because you can't go with a 4x4 over a 3-foot opening. From anywhere from 1 to 4 feet, 4x4. Anywhere past 4 foot, 4x6. When it gets past 6 foot, it's 4x8. And so on and so forth. And those header sizes. LA has a type 5 sheet. You can go online to LA Dobbs, LA Building Department, and you can look up the type 5 sheet. It gives you the minimum qualification standards of lumber sizes and lumber spans on different parts of wood and lumber, from floor joists to ceiling joists to stud heights, underground heights for your crawl spaces for a raised foundation. We're dealing with a slab here. So as you can see, I have a header. I have a header list here. This header list is very important because it's going to identify the length of your headers for your windows and your doors. I have W for windows. I have D for doors. Okay. We have a back window in bedroom 1. We have a back window in bedroom 2. We have a back window in bedroom 1. Okay. You see these writings. I have +3 in the corner and I got it bubbled. So everywhere you see a bubble, especially if I have it near the windows, pay attention to that especially. It's not going to be bubbled on blueprints. I'm highlighting it for you so you can target these areas. Everything that's here is for a target purpose only. You need to target and very much pay attention to these areas I put you in. Like 30x30 access panel, a crawl space that goes up into the attic. Yes, that's going to be on the plans. And you need to identify where at on the plans you're going to see it on the plans, because it does need to be framed in. I have a 7'1" soffit. That is the framing height. Because when you put your drywall at 5/8, it's going to at least come down to 7.5 inch or 7 3/8 of an inch as your finish. Along with your carpet or your tile on your floor, 7 foot even. Okay, we want 7 foot. That soffit has to be framed along. It's a drop ceiling, we call it. It's not the standard height of a regular ceiling like you see up above here. It's not. It drops down because it services a lot of your mechanical trades. You might have, hey, in some cases, in apartment complexes, you have a fire sprinkler system. They're going to run that through that soffit. You're going to have your air conditioning done. I have it here, Chase. So this is not a typical plan, but I did put a Chase here. This Chase services your air conditioning. It may be a 16-inch or 18-inch line that's going up into the attic, and then from there it branches out, and you have your air conditioning and your heating for your ventilation. They're vents. They're placed in your ceiling for each room, even in crossing over to your living room. Whether you have a vaulted ceiling or whether you have a standardized ceiling height of 8'1". Okay, so I do have some dimensions here. I have 25-foot gun from inside to inside. I have 3 foot 2 for my hallway. Most hallways, 3 foot. Yeah, once you drywall it, if you have 1/2 inch on each side, you do want that 3 foot clearance. You don't want to go into 3 foot. That's like a code. Okay, so we do have a closet space. Now, mind you, our building is 60 feet wide. 60 feet wide. And it's 40 feet. Let's say 60 feet long, 40 feet wide. Or you can say 60 feet wide, 40 feet long. Let's do it that way, okay? Because we go on width times length. So the width of this thing is 60 feet. That's how long it is. But it's 40 feet in depth. So it's deep, okay? It's 40 foot long. It's a pretty nice size dwelling. Because I have a kitchen that's like 15 by 17. Imagine how big that is. It's very big. That's large. I did that because I had to calculate the numbers and make it look right. Because this is not to scale. If you see NTS on your plans, on a certain specific type part of the drawing, and it has that NTS, not to scale. That means you cannot use a scale rule. But you do need this. It's very vital that you learn and go to the early videos that I do talk about the scale and how to read the scale. Please view this whole thing in its entirety because it's a lot of information. There are windows here. King studs. We talked about king studs in framing video earlier. Okay. King studs sometimes could be 4x4s because of the engineering. And you want to know about engineering because it's off the chain now, especially in the West Coast with earthquakes and in places where you have a lot of hurricanes and you got straps going from floor to floor with the Simpson hardware. Very vital that you do understand how to install those, how to really lay that out in the framing because it can be laid out along with your anchoring, which means there are anchor bolts to lock this thing down to the foundation that where wind and the uplift does not pick your place up and move it somewhere else, Category 5, Category 4, hurricane, tornado will destroy your home. Will. But they're trying to build better now, so it does not take the whole house away. You know, I do have a large kitchen. I have a large bathroom. This bathroom could be designed many different ways. If I wanted to, I could have put a door in my closet, okay, because it's my closet. If I want to go into this bathroom, because it's big enough. This is a 6-foot closet, pretty wide and deep. My closet's for my bedrooms. So as we get into our header system, where do you see the +3 here from my corners? The +3 here. These are channel locations, 3 studs. Okay, so what we're going to do when we're estimating this wall, you got a length of 60 inches. Now, let me tell you something. Stud spacing is 16 inches on center. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. I need you to keep lumber on this job, okay? Because you're going to go through lumber, and framers do waste a lot of lumber. If you do it the way I'm telling you do it, you will never have a problem going short on lumber. You will not. And you will not have a lot of lumber left over because, believe you me, professional carpenters know how to use scrap lumber. Do not throw anything under 4 foot away. Scrap is considered 2 foot and less, 1 foot. Guys can get fired off of a job when he does not take care of the lumber. When you receive your lumber, it's going to come in a load, a very large load, okay, for your job site. So you need to itemize and categorize your lumber and separate it. You need your studs to be by themselves. You need all your plating because you're going to be starting from the bottom. And this bottom plate, you're going to notice it has a certain size to it. And my top plate and my bottom plate, they are the same size. These are the framing members. When we get into how to lay out the wall to locate your windows and doors, we did that in another video. But you'll see it on a model, actual miniaturized model, okay? Your double top plate, though, is different. You want your double top plate to be longer, at least 4 foot longer. I like 16 footers for bottom and top plate. Remember, your bottom plate has to be treated. Has to be a treated pine or pressure treated lumber. In California, it's pressure treated, okay? They have womanized as well. It's a chemical that's on the lumber. Turns it like a greenish color. Okay. 60 feet for every foot is going to be an estimate of a stud. So I have 60 feet. That's 60 studs. Okay. That's not including the channels. Well, wow, man, that's a lot of lumber. Don't even worry about that, okay? It's when you fall short and you wish you had extra lumber, okay? 60 feet, 40. So, with that being said on my paperwork, your stud calculations, okay? You have your exterior. That's the perimeter. I have a total, and you can calculate this for my exterior, and this is board footage. I have a total of 320 linear feet. 320 linear, and that's just the perimeter. That's not including the inside interior walls that you see here. It's the outside. The exterior is the outside of the wall, okay? That's enclosing in the inside, the protecting of the inside. Okay, and for my interior, when you calculate all this up, so remember, one thing about when you're looking and estimating, I have a closet wall that's 15 feet, and this bedroom, and then bedroom between 1 and 2. Okay, that's 15 feet, that's 1 stud per foot. But I also have a break in this plate. Continue with that. Between this wall and this wall here, it's going to be 30 studs, 15 and 15. Well, why? Can't you just, take some, look, you got cripples to cut for this wall, okay? You're going to have blocks that you're going to need for your channels. But there's going to be scrap that you're going to need because this lumber is going to come in handy for when the plumber comes in, butchers up stuff, you got lumber, okay? So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And you're not going to be able to take a whole lot back because they do charge you a fee for that. But if you do, guess what? You got money coming. Who doesn't want money to come back in their pocket? But you always want more than less. 60 feet, 40 feet, 60 feet, 40 feet. So how do I come up with my plate? So my bottom plate, I'm gonna need 36 pieces of treated lumber for my bottom plate. Okay, so we come up with that for our perimeter. We're gonna take the total number, because even on the inside, and I told you we have 254 lineal feet. Board footage, we're gonna divide that. What size lumber? We want 16 footers for our bottom plate and our top plate. So you're gonna take your total. I have 574 board footage in this whole entire building. You're gonna divide that by 16. That's the length of this 2x4. I have bottom plate, 36 pieces, 2x4 by 16 feet. That's the bottom plate. The top plate is going to be the same. It's the same size. So you're going to need that and divide that from your whole total. 574 divided by 16 will give you 36 pieces. That's what you're going to need. You're going to stack that off. You're going to separate your bottom plate, your top plate, but they're going to be right by each other. Because when the layout guy does his layout, these plates got to be scattered, both of them together, not one of them. Before these are scattered, there's going to be layout marks, snap lines, that's going to tell you every wall location. And we haven't gotten to that yet. But every wall needs to be located and snapped out with red chalk. Some use red, some use yellow, some use white. When it rains, they have a certain type of spray you can buy before it rains, and you know rain is coming, and you spray your line, your chalk line, and the rain will not take it away. If you don't spray your lines with this product, your whole layout process of snapping is going to be washed away. And we don't want that, because you don't have to re-snap anything on a wet slab, because you're going to have to broom sweep it off, because it's going to be water, and all concrete, no matter how good the concrete guy is, you're going to have some low spots where you're going to see puddling in certain areas. Man, it's not going to be the whole slab. And I haven't rarely came across a whole slab that repelled water and drained it off. I just, no. This is not, we're dealing with human beings, imperfect people. But perfection, it only occurs when you know how to overcome the steps that's going to hinder you from proceeding. Okay? Now that's being perfected. Okay. All right. So, as we say, the total perimeter, we got the total 575 feet. Okay. We need 36 pieces for our bottom and our top plate. Now, how do we come up with the double top plate? I told you the double top plate is 20. It's going to be 20 feet. So you're going to take your whole entire 574, because the double top plate goes over the whole entire, all the walls. And you're going to divide that by 20. And 20 is representing 20 feet. You want 4 foot of more than less. Yes, we have breaks and all that. But when it comes to plate lapping, you don't want plate to tie onto a wall 2 feet. California, the minimum that a plate can lap is like 32 inches. It may even be more now. Well, I like a lap of 4 feet. And now in certain parts of the country, you have to stitch nail the plate, like 20 nails on each side. The wall that you plating over, you got to stitch nail that. Then the wall that you coming from, that the plate is running from, stitch nail that. They want these walls to be stitch nail, and they want a lot of nails tying both of these. And then if you have breaks and it's not over stud, they're going to be requiring you to put a stud up underneath a break. They're going to require straps in certain locations so a wall won't separate itself. You'll put an ST strap, might be an ST16, could be an MST, a LST, depending on what the engineer calls out for your structural. The structural blueprints is going to always give you what you need. This is what we need. We need to make sure that where our 4x4 king studs, they have king studs that are 4x4s. In some cases, you may see a double 2x4 for your king stud. And that could be on the plans. I see a lot of 4x4s though. But the double 2x king stud can also be called a cord. Each king stud nailed to another king stud, it could be like double cords, triple cords. quadruple cords. I've seen 4 king studs nailed up, and it's because the engineering of that building. He had a PHAD strap from the concrete strapping to that. That was embedded into the foundation. It bends back over and it nails right into that 4x4 for this window. I have a 504 window here. I have a 504 window here for glazing. Okay, and for lighting. There has to be a certain amount of light coming into these rooms. I have a 4040 in each bedroom, which is sufficient enough. I didn't put no window on there because it's a lot of window. You know what I mean? That's a lot of light. Okay. All right. So the front door, we have a dining room. And in this area here, there is possibly, I can have a case opening, because your living room and your dining room is usually open to each other. And then, or a family room, depending on, living room and family rooms can be joined together. Okay. I could have put a closet right here for an entry. We just didn't do that in this plan. But we did want you to have the actual know-how on what you're looking for. Like I said, each one of these +3s is a channel. You're going to add that into your stud package. So you got to count all these +3s. You're doing that. It's not on the plans to do that. This is the lumber that you're going to be needing. A lot of your soffit material, like I had soffit material, and I had 12 studs for soffit. I have 4 studs, well, 12 2x4s for soffit, because your 2x4s and your plate material, hey, you're going to need a ledger on that wall so that your 2x4s can run on both sides of the wall into a ledger. What is a ledger? It's a flat 2x4 that runs alongside that long length of that wall for that hallway, and it's going to nail to a finger joist. We call it a finger joist, and it's actually a soffit 2x4 on edge. Sometimes they lay them flat in certain areas, but you got to make sure you have a strong back that's holding that flat ceiling together, that it won't sag. A 2x4 on edge won't have any sagging to it, but you want to make sure that the crown is up. If it has a bow in it, don't put the bow down, put the bow up, okay? So that way that when it settles, it straightens itself out. But you can't settle anything that has a bow up underneath it. It's going to get worse, and it's going to make your ceiling look like a bad dip in it. Okay, so we have told you how many pieces of what we needed for our soffit. Now, header sizes. When you see a 4.0 window, okay, that's 48 inches. For windows, you always add 3 inches to your window. This is going to tell you the size of your header on your structural. 4x6 is the header. Headers are abbreviated HDR, and the layout guy puts that on the floor, on the concrete, for the layout man when he snaps. The layout guy is responsible for cutting all your bottom cripples, all your top cripples. He lays out all your plate. He lays out every stud, every wall channel, every connecting wall is snapped out by him, is plated by him. Headers are cut by him. Doors are 5 inches more on the header stock. You want your stud grade material to be number 2 or better. California is Douglas fir. In the South, it's more like Southern pine, Georgia pine. You have pine in the South versus in California, you have Douglas fir. Okay? Just a difference. It's no difference in the wood. It's structurally sound, but it's just different companies and different wood, but it's structurally made to adhere to the framing, structural framing. Your plate material is going to be select number 1. You want a good grade. And like I said, that's usually a green spray painted on the ends of each of the lumber ends for your plate material. Your plate is going to be a really good standard grade. Stud's going to be number 2 or better. Your header stock is number 2 or better. Some headers come out, they barf off on the edge. Put that edge up, not down. You're going to have drywall that's getting nailed to that face of it. Outside, you're going to have plywood shear panel. So 4040 header, 48 inches. What are we going to add to our header for 48 inches? For our header for the windows 4x6, it's going to be 4x6, okay, 51 inches for a 4x4. I have 4x4 window call out size for the window opening. So my header is going to be 51 inches, but it's going to be a 4x6. 4040 is just telling you it's 4 foot wide, 4 foot high, okay? But the header size is not determined by the window opening. It's determined by the structural engineer. Like I said, you can have a 4x4 that go up to 4 feet. It kind of looks a little, skinny. But when you're dealing with structural framing, this is a single story. There's no 2-story on this building. I could create one in another video, but then I have to get into all types of information dealing with your floor joists. And we're gonna get into that because I'm gonna teach you how to lay out floor joists, especially for your kitchen because of the lighting. And then you got lights in your dining room, your living room that needs to be centered. You need joists to miss that. You also have in your bathroom toilets, you have tub traps that the joist needs to be missed. You don't need to head out anything. A good joister, he'll run his layout, but his layout does jump and move around, but it stays on point with how plywood is to be sheeted. And plywood is supposed to be staggered at least over 32 inches. Don't stagger nothing 16 inches. That's not staggered. I like to stagger mine really 48. I want that staggered, and I want that diaphragm, that locking in. 32 is minimum, but I don't like 32. You're cheating a little bit. I like that half plywood on. Half plywood, full sheet, half sheet. Full sheet, half sheet. And where the half sheet ends, another full sheet continues. Okay, so let's get back to what we were talking about. For our headers, we have a 5040 window in our living room, front of the house. We have 4x4 posts as king studs. Those need to be in because more than likely it's going to be a hole down there. The hole down is not going to go on the inside underneath the cripples. No, it's got to be towards the outside of your king stud. In between a bay, between your 4x4 and the next stud over. That's a bay. That's a space in between to the next stud. Don't put it up underneath the window. That's not where the hold down goes. And your bolts, your anchorage has to be specified. So you need that to also be at the right location. Because before all this framing goes on, you're going to have anchor bolts, hold down bolts sticking up out of the concrete. Your bottom plate has to be drilled at the precise area where those bolts are coming at. Because when you frame that wall and that wall goes up and you lift that wall up, the hole goes over the bolt, the wall sits down, the man comes behind, he puts a square washer. There's no more round washers anymore. He puts a square washer, a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, that is measured for the square washer. It's going to have a hole in the middle of it. Then you're going to have a nut. More than likely, it's going to be a 5/8 nut, or it's going to be a 3/4 inch nut for a hold down. And the wall gets anchored down. Then you plumb the line with bracing. We're going to get into that as well. But back to our headers. Our headers post king studs. Make sure that you look on the plans for that. Okay? And our doors. Our doors are typically could be like 30-inch doors. Okay? 2.6 by 6.8. That's a nice standard size door for a bedroom. You can do 2.8. You customizing. Costs a little bit more. Raised panel door or a slab door, which means there's no design to the door. It's just a slab blank door. There's no detail in the door. You got your raised panel doors. They have detail in them. You have your back door sometime. I could take this kitchen door and put a French door there, which means they have panes like lights, which means there's wood in between and it's separate. French doors are expensive, okay? And the glass goes all the way from the top towards the top of the door, several inches down, to the bottom of the door, several inches up. And it's a grid system for that French door. Mostly has to be stained. They could be painted, mostly stained. Very expensive door to hang. They're very heavy too as well. Okay, so all our doors are typically, headers are going to be 4x4. So a 4x4 header, 48 inches, okay? So we typically got a 2.8 by 6.8 door. 2.8, that's 32 inches here. Back door doesn't have to be 36 inches like the front door. That header is a 4x4 header, all right? For our front door, we want a 4x6 header because of how engineering is, okay? Engineering right now is really at its peak with the engineers, and you really need to make sure that you follow the header that is listed on the plans, because if you don't, this inspector from the city, and if you're doing a job that's by a private job, the representative for the owner is going to call you on it. That's a lot of cutting out. You don't want to cut out anything on a new construction job. You just don't, because you turned it into a remodel, and that's not professional. You don't want to do that. Everything needs to be on point from the layout on up. Everything needs to be looking good. The doors and windows need to be in the right location. Your posts, your 4x4s need to be in the right location. Your door swings need to be swinging in the right direction, as you can see that I have here. Your attic access needs to be marked and laid out on the ground. So when people look, everything is usually on the ground. Typical. The only thing that's going to be written on a stud or a wall or frame wall is when they do punch. And it's going to be a Keo crayon mark. And I usually like to draw something, point the arrow, and I might have a little piece of paper, note, and it might say, hey, finish out framing, frame out attic access 30 by 30. That's centered. Access is going to be centered in this hallway. This chase is servicing the heating and air conditioning. So all my windows. So in the stud department, let's go to the studs. Okay, we just told you how many studs we needed. You're going to have either two sizes. On the West Coast, 92 1/4. In the South, I came across 92 5/8. Why there's a difference, don't know, don't care. Follow the plan, okay? We went over the linear footage of everything. So my header sizes, I have 4x6. I have 3 4x6s on this plan. 3, okay? And they're 51 inches. I have one 4x6 that's 101 inches. Why is that? Because I got an 8-foot closet opening here. This closet is like the master. I just put bedroom 1. But it's a bigger closet. It's a 6-foot deep closet, or it's going to be 5 foot, probably, 6.5 inches when you put the wall and take it away, the wall thickness. But the header, it's got to be a 4x6. It cannot be a 4x4 header for an 8-foot opening. Usually, it's possible, it's got to be a 4x8. And I'm going to put a 4x8 here so that way there's no confusion to the illusion. That's an HDR. That's the header. And we want that header to be a 4x8. Okay? So, with that being said, all your headers, all your material, you're calculating. Okay? So, I have a 4x6. I have two 4x6s, 5'3", 63 inches. You need to write this down. And the reason why you need to write it down is because you're creating a list. Okay? You're creating a list. And you're going to have to calculate the length of every header and combine them. So when I combined it, for all my windows and doors, it was 13 headers. Completely 13. So when you count these headers here, and you go through this chart, and you count everything here that's on this plan, you're going to have 13 headers. Each header has a size opening. 4040, 504, 3030, 60. That the kitchen is 3030. Okay, the back door, it's 2868. That's a header there. My bathroom window, it's going to be an obscured window. It means it's probably not going to open. It's probably going to be obscured, and it's probably going to be what they call not an opening window. It's going to be stationary. It's not going to open. But there are windows now that do open for the bathroom for ventilation. No problem. It's a 2.6 by 6 2.6 by 6 2.6. That window. 2.6 by 2.6 is not a door, it's a window. 2.6 by 2.6 is what that window is going to be for the bathroom. Okay? So all these headers need to be calculated up. You separate your 4x4s and your 4x6s. You calculate every size that you have. There's 13 of them. When it all boils down to, I've had 3 4x6 by 51. That's the windows. Okay? For the bedroom 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 windows. Okay? 4x6. 1 closet in bedroom closet number 1. Itemize that. That's 101 inches. That's 8'5" inches. Okay, so I have another 5'3". I have 2 windows in the living room, 5040. Okay, those 2 windows are 5'3". That's 63 inches. You have to combine 63 inches so you'll know your footage. 5'3" plus 5'3" is going to be 10'6". Over 10 feet, you got to have a 12-footer. They only sell lumber in nominal sizes of 2s, like 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot. You're not going to get any lumber 4 foot. Sorry. You're not going to get any lumber 6 foot. It's not sold like that. It starts from 8 on up. On up to 20, 22 footers. I've seen 24 footers. I've seen 26 footers. I've seen 28-foot joists, 2x10, 2x12. That's a long joist, and it's heavy too. And you're walking on the wall, carrying it on your shoulder, and you're spreading it out where it goes. Okay, so let's go back to the board. Let's pay attention. That you see all these that I have written out is just basically telling you the sizes that I have. This 3068, 39 inches is a 4x6. It's a door. That's a D. This 40 is just the span of this side of the wall. So I know it's in a crunched up area. I just had to do it that way. I just tried to get as much as I could on this board so that way you can see how I did it. I labeled and put header at the top so you know all these headers. I had to throw 2 doors up here, which were 806, so that was the closet over here, 4x6. I did mark it there. I have a 6068 4x4, 77 inches. Okay, so that possibly needs to be a 4x6 itself, because 72 inches is 6 feet. We can't have a 4x4 spanning 6 feet. We need it to be a 4x6. So there needs to be a change in my 4x6 ordering for my material. But how it all came out on this list, I have 2 4x4 10-footers. 2 10-footers. Okay. I have 2 4x6s, 12-footers. Okay. I have 1 4x6, 14-foot. Okay. But since this 4x4 was added as a 77, which was a over 6 feet, I can take that one, okay, because that's in the closet, and I can add that to the 4x6s, and I can take away 1 4x4. You see, you got to subtract and then you got to add. If you take away from one and it's in the wrong spot, you got to put it in another spot. And I told you, you catch these mistakes, and it's good to catch them because nobody's perfect. And I don't want you to think that I'm a perfect individual. No, but I do sit down and I go over my list and I go over everything that I need to order. It's coming out in a load. I have a laborer with me. He's going to break that load down. I have my sizes separated to different areas that I need to be separated to. And I want you to know that everything we went over is just basically dividing and adding and multiplying. Those 3 mathematical, things that we do need in math. Subtraction. We haven't subtracted anything, but we've added, we have multiplied, and we have divided, okay, to come up with what we come up with. Okay, I have a case opening for this, just in case you didn't see it, for my kitchen. So case openings mean that the opening, this is an arch opening, which means it's going to have an arch to it. Case opening means it's just a square opening, okay. Case opening here, going to the bedrooms, is specified on the plans. If there was anything dealing with these walls here, like vaulted ceiling, that means there's no ceiling joist in this area. It's open the way the rafters are traveling for the roof pitch. Same here. But I could have a ceiling here in my dining room and not have a ceiling here. We have not got to that point. But I want you to get the concept on how much you have to add for your channels. Always +3 on your channels. They're going to always be bathrooms. Notice we don't have anything 2x6 here. Everything is 2x4 that I have. You must calculate your headers in board foot. So you need to make sure that your headers don't come up short. Remember, if it's double studs for your king stud, these are also addressed as cords for king studs. Like I told you here, you will see that sometime instead of a 4x4. I just want you to be aware of that. Pay attention to the plans. Hone in on certain areas. Go from one point to another point. And don't try to jump. Have a system. If you're going to do your perimeter, let it be the perimeter. Write that down on your paper. I wrote down my perimeter for my exterior walls. and I told the whole total lineal feet was 320. I wrote down the interior of my walls here, the interior of every length of these walls that I was going to frame, and I have 254 lineal feet. I need to convert that into board footage, okay? Board footage is, 2 by 4 by this, 16, like we said, for our bottom plate. Board footage is 12 times 12 times 12. Then you get your board footage by that, okay? But we're not doing that. That was an old school method. They will always tell you how board footage was calculated, So just so that you will know, everything here is going to be sent out. But I have not added my bracing for my plumbing and line. And those are going to be 12-foot 2x4s. We'll get into that on the next video. I hope you learned something today. Continue to go over this video. You can go over this video and you can stop my camera and you can watch it. Come up with your own list. Practice makes perfect, but a perfect practice makes perfect. You're going to make some mistakes. That's fine. You want to make mistakes. It's good when you can catch your own mistakes and nobody else does. And if somebody does point it out, say, oh, thanks. Hey, no problem. I sure did miss that. And thank that guy, because you know what I mean? This is about money. And you will be spending quite a bit of money on lumber. I know I've seen lumber, big jobs. Count was $1 million. That means you're building in a big subdivision way, multifamily. And you talking about apartments, garden style homes, stuff like that, 6 to 8 units. And you got like 13 or 15 buildings, yeah, you're going to spend a lot of money in lumber. If you're doing a house, you can expect to spend over 15 to 20 grand on lumber, period. You know what I mean? Depending on the size of the house. I want you to stay tuned. We have some better videos that's going to give an in-depth knowledge on more about framing. This was the first floor. There's second floors. So there's a lot going on when you read plans. You have to really be kind of sharp to understand how to estimate. And you have to have a vision when you are the foreman on the job. And always remember, separate your lumber so you know where it's at. And watch your lumber. And don't let your carpenters just run through your lumber, because there are a lot of unskilled carpenters out there. And they'll pick up a 16-footer and cut 4 feet off of it. Why? Don't let nobody do that, because that 16-footer could have been plate material. And this guy is cutting 4 foot off of that. Direct your guys, or direct the crew what lumber to cut from. And remember, your layout guy is your most important guy on the framing project. He knows all your windows and doors. He knows the cut list. He has the cut list. He knows how to snap and plate, such as I. See you on the next video. God bless everyone. Stay tuned for more to come.